Welcome back to the Sixties Forum. The topic today is going to be 60s mythology, mystique, and Eastern thought. Let's start with when in the 60s, Eastern thought, meaning Buddhism, Hinduism, Taoism, was brought into the fore with people like Alan Watts and popularized by people like the Beatles, with George Harrison going to the East, going to India. Alan Watts was a guru of the beatniks and in the 50s, and then really became popularized in the 60s with The Way of Zen, his famous book, and basically cosmic consciousness, which is, if you listen to the debate nowadays, it's basically hardcore atheism versus fundamentalist Christianity, or fundamentalist of whatever religion we're talking about. But both those positions are untenable. I think the most irrational position is atheism. I mean, if you think about it, what is the position of atheism? Basically, their arguments are anti-fundamentalist arguments. All they do is attack fundamentalist religion. So, they never really say what they believe, and supposedly what they believe is that, it's a stupid, unconscious universe, but somehow, by an accident, people became intelligent, and everything else in the universe is stupid. To me, that's more irrational than any religion, because it's so obvious that the universe is intelligent, implies everything is intelligent, implies intelligence in the universe, not just humans, but all animals on Earth are intelligent, even if it's an instinctual intelligence. But aside from that, the laws of physics are so complex, and the universe is something beyond human comprehension. So, so it's obvious that there's it's a conscious, intelligent universe we live in. And then if you think of Western religion, somehow the more fundamentalist concepts of it took over into the mainstream. So now, we have these literalist interpretations of ancient mythological text. And, I think the best person, or the best philosopher who unravels that mess is Joseph Campbell, because he, shows it for what it is, which is mythology. But another good example to give as far as showing atheism versus fundamentalism versus cosmic consciousness, which is rational, which is not. So what's afterlife to an atheist? Basically the atheist position is, you billions of years you did not exist, then you come into existence for 70 odd years, and then you are in non-existence for the rest of eternity. So that seems a bit irrational to me. And the fundamentalist version is some cartoon version of heaven and hell and purgatory, and so that's pretty irrational. So I think what I call the cosmic consciousness version would be not reincarnation in the sense of, being reborn as another person, that kind of thing, but the idea that if everything's interconnected, everything's part of the whole, then what is our consciousness? Is our consciousness separate, or is our consciousness also part of the whole? And if it is part of the whole, does our consciousness disappear when we die? If it's not separate, if we're not separate, isn't consciousness one thing? In other words, isn't my and your consciousness the same consciousness in different forms, seeing from different points of view. So what dies is the illusion that you're separate, and in the West we're taught to pretend that we're separate, and most people who are taught that don't see beyond that they're separate and isolated in a hostile, stupid universe, so they don't see that they're part of the whole. There's a certain mythology and mystique to the 60s, in the sense of being the ultimate time, something even beyond nostalgia, but actually time is just relative. The 60s happened a second ago, the 60s are happening now, because time's not really linear, we just think it is. Alan Watts believed you had to be in the present all the time. And then someone told him, well, what about when you're thinking about the past? Aren't you in the present while you're thinking about the past? And that caused him to think about that. So I guess, when I think about the 60s, I'm thinking about it in the present, in that everything's the present. It's always the eternal present. So basically, we're always in the present, and we're always conscious, because it's a universal consciousness. And I think that's a simple concept that cuts through all the rational ideas of fundamentalism and atheism.